What's going on, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and today we're talking about setting expectations and managing the things in your brain that make us feel discouraged, that make us feel like we don't want to continue. Um, Side note, this was inspired by a group chat I had today, and that video is going live on Tuesday, so I highly recommend you guys check that out and look out for it because it's an amazing video. It's over an hour long. We got a lot of cool industry people on it, and it was awesome. But today, I want to talk about setting expectations because I've talked about this a little bit in the past in a few different videos, but I've never talked about it in the context that I want to talk about it today. I've talked about it previously where you want to set expectations for people when you're hiring them or what you want from them, and that just helps teamwork work better, right? If you're building a team, if someone's expected to deliver a new build every Tuesday and they know that, then that's all they got to do. If they don't know when they're supposed to deliver new builds or what they're supposed to do or how they're supposed to do it, it can cause a lot of tension and chaos in team environment. But with yourself, improperly setting expectations can really discourage you. It can really stop you from moving forward and kind of getting something out of life. And the way this plays out is simple, right? A lot of people, let's take Indie Game the movie as an example. It's a famous indie game movie, right? Like most indie game developers have seen it. And when the movie came out, you had a lot of people flood into the indie game scene and want to make games because the way that movie set up the indie game scene was that you sit down with a friend for spend a couple months making a video game, and all of a sudden you make a bunch of money. You end up on the front page of Xbox Live. You know, that's how it works. And so people come into the game making world with those expectations, and then they publish their first game and they get 0 downloads or they get 5 sales, you know? And the problem isn't so much the 0 downloads or the 5 sales. It's the 0 downloads with the expectation of becoming a millionaire. That's what causes the mental chaos, right? That's what causes the discouragement. That's what causes the discomfort that comes from, like, you know, not feeling like you're good enough. And setting expectations is one of those things that you really have to do. You really have to know yourself, and you really have to know your limits, and you really have to know the things that you're capable of achieving to properly set them. Because on one hand, you don't want to set expectations so low every time or you're cutting yourself short, right? If you constantly expect the minimum to happen to you, the minimum amount of success, the minimum, everything, then you're not going to live a very fun life. You're not going to take any risks. You're not going to take any chances because you constantly expect the minimum to happen to you. But at the same time, if you expect to become a millionaire every time you publish a game, if you expect on your first game that you're going to hit it out of the park and make the next Minecraft, if you expect those things, you're just setting yourself up for failure because those things are unrealistic and they don't happen. And so where's the balance? Like, how do you find the balance, and how do you actually get somewhere where you can set proper expectations and actually, like, live up to them? And the way that I do this personally is, like, I kind of set expectations in baby steps. So when I started this YouTube channel, for example, my expectations were I'm going to publish one video a week and I expect to get 100 subscribers in about a month. That was my expectation. I was hoping to get 100 subscribers in 1 month by publishing 4 videos every week. Having done that, my first video, marketing the hell out of it, pushing it in all the indie game places, all the everything, I didn't do well at all. I think I got like 12 subscribers or something like that. And I was bummed. I was discouraged, right? But the second video I did ended up doing really well on Facebook in the indie game developers group. And I ended up getting like 150 some subscribers from that one video the second week. So I hit my goal. I blew past my expectations and I was really happy. But like there's so many things in my life that I've improperly set expectations. For a long time, I had this thing that I would tell myself over and over again. that I was going to be a millionaire by the time I turned 26. And like when I would talk to, I don't know, like people in your life, that love you, they don't want to discourage you from stuff. They want to encourage you. So I got a lot of encouragement on that, right? Like, yeah, go Tim, you go be a millionaire. Woohoo, you're gonna do it. You can do it. I know you can. I got a lot of encouragement like that, and I went out and I tried to make a startup and I failed, and I tried to do another startup and I failed. Failed in 5 different companies. I couldn't even get something done. I couldn't even get to the point where I would sell something. And I turned 26, and like I wasn't a millionaire. And I had like a mini crisis right there. Like it sounds so stupid when I talk about it, right? Like it's just, why would you, Tim, why would you be upset if you're not a millionaire? Like, but that was part of my identity, man. Like that, I was so sure that was going to happen. I was so positive I was going to make that happen. And the problem wasn't that I didn't become a millionaire. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that I expected to become a millionaire and I didn't. So it was just an expectation problem. And those are 2 examples of like how expectations can really change the course of the way that you do things. Like with YouTube, it was a positive feedback loop because I set expectations, I blew past them. So I wanted to set more expectations and blow past them. And now we're here and I'm going on 11,000 subscribers. Like I'm really happy with the number. I'm really happy with the growth. And it's just like, the opposite side can happen too, like negative feedback loops. You set big expectations, you don't meet them, you get discouraged. So you set more big expectations, you don't meet them, you get discouraged, so on and so forth. And you got to be careful. You got to watch out for this stuff because expectations are the things that they're not real. They don't really exist. They don't exist out there in the real world, but they're real in here. They're real barriers and obstacles. And with indie games specifically, if you're working on your first game, set your expectations accordingly. All right. I have a chapter in my book. Maybe this is too harsh, so maybe it's going to be retitled. But as of now, it's called First Games Always Flop. And I mean that not in a harsh way, not in a mean way, not saying you're going to make a shit game the first game you make. Not even saying that you can't make an amazing Minecraft game and sell it for $4 billion on your first game. It's possible, but it's not likely. What's more than likely to happen is your first game is going to be full of bugs. It's going to be full of problems, design issues, all kinds of shit. You're going to push it out there. You're going to be happy. You're going to get a few downloads, but that's going to be the end of it. And you got to move on to the next game. And you got to keep doing that. And if your expectations are that you're going to become this big millionaire by pushing out one little game or one little piece of software, when people have been doing this for 20 years haven't even done that, maybe your expectations are a little bit skewed. And growing up, I was like encouraged to have those like big expectations of myself. But being encouraged, I felt like in a way almost hurt me because they weren't just goals, they were expectations. And the expectations that I had really discouraged me when I didn't get there because they were unrealistic. They should have been realistic. I should have planned it out a little bit more. I should have thought about should have looked up the actual numbers and like actually planned this out. And when I got back into game development, I was realistic about it. Because I knew I had to quit game development and quit for 10 years. And it took me 10 years to finish my first game. Because I got lost in a marketing company and all this other stuff. And I realized that, this stuff's hard, man. And so I went back into this slowly. And I said, hey, what if we just sit down and we finish a game in like 2 weeks? And anything that's going to take longer than 2 weeks, we cut out. We cut out the scope. And the 3 of us sat down and we finished a game, and it was awesome, and we had a ton of fun. That was the first game that I ever completed because our expectations were set properly, and I didn't expect to make $1 million from it. I didn't expect to push it out anywhere. I just wanted to finish a game. Wanted to finish a game in 2 weeks. That's what I wanted to do. So when you're making your game, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be ambitious. I'm not saying that you shouldn't set big goals. Because I have videos on both of those subjects, and I absolutely think those things have their place. But I'm saying when you're setting expectations for what you expect to happen, keep in mind that your mood and your output and the way that you view the world is reliant on those expectations. And if you are expecting something crazy big, you know, it's not realistic. Maybe you should think about something a little more realistic. And I don't mean to sound like the negative Nancy dude, because I know I hate when people tell me, Tim, why are you making indie games? Do something realistic. Because people used to tell me that all the time. Okay, so I know what that's like. Someone telling you to get a real job or be realistic or go to law school or something instead of making games. So that's not what I'm saying. So hear me out here. I'm just saying, like, be realistic in what you're trying to expect. You know, with Philophobia, even with my marketing knowledge, even with the amount of time I put in the game, even with all of, you know, I have a huge audience on YouTube, I have audience on email, I have audience on Twitch that watch me make the game. Even with all that, my expectations are to sell between 100 and 1,000 copies. Those are my expectations. Not saying the game can't sell more, it absolutely can. Game can also sell less, you know. But with all that, those are my expectations. I'm not saying I'm going to try any less, because I am absolutely going to try my hardest. I'm not going to let that game just fall by the wayside. It is absolutely going to, you know, I'm going to market the shit out of it. But I'm just saying those are my expectations. And those have gradually gotten bigger from the Finish Friday stuff, from the Game Jam stuff, and I've worked my way up to those expectations. And I look at it like baby steps, one step at a time. Boom, boom, boom. I did this, now I got to do something bigger, bigger, bigger. And I just feel like that's a better way to do it. But you need to figure out what works for you. And all I'm saying is just your expectations. Maybe think twice about, you know, what you're expecting to have out of your game, or at least understand what you expect from it. Because if you don't know what you expect from it, that could be just as bad. So I hope you guys found this useful. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment down below. What is something where you improperly set expectations on? Let me know. Let me know if you learned anything from that or what that experience was like. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Once again, my name is Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you again tomorrow.